Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Personal Success Accelerator study session. I thank everybody for being here. This is going to be covering lesson number 2 on the free online course, Personal Success Accelerator. This is about your success. So what does success mean to you? And I can't help but wax poetic and get nostalgic with this idea, because I remember being, I had to be 9 or 10 years old, and I didn't have a natural athletic aptitude per se. However, I certainly had dreams, and I had the ability to dream, right? And at this point in time, for those of you who were born in the 80s, like I was, 49ers were having their incredible run as far as a football franchise with Joe Montana. And I had religiously watched them in the postseason and playoffs all the way to win several championships. And so when I think about the first thing that I wanted to do, it really has to do with this idea of being a champion, right? And I think all little boys are kind of drawn to this. I had my whole career sort of planned out. And I was going to be a quarterback, and I was going to have this terrible injury that I wouldn't be able to recover from. And then I was going to rise from that and lead the team to certain victory. Now, this certainly had the air of Joe Montana and his journey with the 49ers. However, it was to be my journey. And so my first definition of success had to do with being a champion and persevering and overcoming impossible odds. And what is funny now is I have the same sort of elements to what I consider success. And so it's funny how, if you think back, maybe that's a similar story for you. So if you've taken the course, you looked at the course, the definition of success is the achievement of a desired outcome or the attainment of predetermined goals. And they involve doing something meaningful, right? And significant and fulfilling in different aspects of life. And this is something that we get to try things on. We have in my example of the football example, I had certain elements that I was drawn to, just my nature, right? Perseverance, overcoming impossible odds. And things I consider success carry those elements. So maybe there's something like that for you. In my teens, I wanted to be, I guess you would say, a rock star, not necessarily famous for all that comes along with that. However, I wanted to be someone who made music and made their living doing that and was admired as such. And again, extreme perseverance, extreme passion was involved in achieving this goal. Now, I'm not doing that now, obviously. This carries these elements of success and perseverance that they're repeating themselves. And so as we move through life, we have people tell us that this is success or this is success. And we have to reconcile that with what naturally arises from maybe those childhood experiences that we had. And for me, I've identified those several times in this talk so far. However, maybe there's something there for you. And after having the football failure and the rock and roll failure, I decided that I should not trust myself as much and go and listen to what was attainable, what people were telling me was success. And that was to have a lot of money, to have this certain prestige, to kind of have this front of the way I look. And I worked my way through life in my 30s with this kind of front, if you will. And my marriage began to fall apart, and I couldn't find myself even connected to my life. It just was like, if it all fell apart, what's the point kind of anyway? And so I really think that I lost track of the key elements that were core to who I am, values that I just instinctually had. Now, of course, things, they change along the way. New values will come up. We're always changing, but you can probably chase a common pattern through what you consider success. The thing of it is that we really need to define success for ourselves. And this is difficult to do. Number one, we are overwhelmed with so much information in the world, so much information. And it's really hard to figure out exactly, what is relevant, right? And what should be relevant? What is relevant? It's hard. We get kind of separated from ourselves and these things seem cool or exciting. And so we try them on kind of in our minds. Maybe we spend years, weeks, months going after these things that aren't necessarily tied to our authentic selves. So it's just in my experience, it was this nebulous kind of blur that I didn't really understand. And I knew that there was some things I liked in there, and there's some things I had to do to achieve success that I didn't like doing. And I tried to find a way to be okay with that. Now, one of the ways that we can kind of focus in to get a little bit deeper on this is to look at things in different domains, right? So in the course, you look at 5 domains. Now, this is just 5, which seem to cover a wide cloth of life. And there's the relational domain, the career domain, emotional domain, purpose domain, and where did I miss one? Relational, career, emotional, and your purpose, meaning and purpose. So if you break this down, right, what is success in your relational domain? And immediately you can hear the world call down upon you, have a rich mate, have the most beautiful woman, man, as your partner. And maybe that's important to you. Or maybe it's not, but you feel like you have to do it because the world is pulling you towards that, if you will. The world is calling you, is defining that for you. And you feel that dissonance of what is being called to you and what actually your experience is. In your career domain, maybe, we live in a capitalist society. So I think the moral of capitalism, and I'm not putting any morality on this, but is that if you're not growing, then you're dying. Right. So we always look at, in the career domain, if we're not moving up the ladder, then we're failing. So what is success to you in your career domain? Maybe it's job satisfaction, or maybe it is the salary, right? Or maybe it's the opportunities for growth, or the work itself. Emotional domain. This is your level of self-awareness, right? Your emotional intelligence and your level of resilience. You're just emotional patterns. What does success look like in your emotional life, right? Is it a feeling of peace? Is it being generally excited about life? Is it whatever it is? Is it your definition of success? Perhaps your emotional patterns vary to great degrees. Maybe success to you is something very different from what you're currently experiencing. Your domain of purpose might be your expression of your values, or service to a greater cause, creative expression, or your kind of personal alignment with your career, right? If we think about it, we're through a certain lens, we're manifesting, we're creating our lives. So your purpose, what kind of creative energy is creating your purpose? Maybe it's something that's not even directly related to your work. Maybe it is simply just, hello, Sina, thank you for joining.
Hello.
I am just discussing and we are recording this, just FYI, I think you probably got an alert. We're talking about what the domain of emotion looks like and what success might be in that. And if you have a different idea of success in each domain, again, this is kind of an issue of self-exploration, self-awareness. Sometimes they might be at odds. And this is where growth can happen. And I remember the first time I was told, I don't like these conflicting things. There's a conflict, for example, between my career domain and my emotional domain. And when I was asked to sit with those things and just allow myself to kind of sit in that conflict, it was uncomfortable. But that's where growth can happen. And so this is a method, when you break it down, you can use these 4 or 5 domains to kind of explore what success looks like in those things. But you will find that it will reconnect you with some of these very elemental things. Like I said at the beginning of the talk here, if you will, the ideas of perseverance and overcoming incredible odds, those are still things I see as honorable and things that are worthy and I would define as being part of what success means to me. Now, as you considered, you worked through the course and you considered your relationships and what's one thing you could do to move forward in each of these domains, your relationships, career, your emotional life, and your purpose. Did something open up here? Was there kind of a new exploration that was opening up? And then, of course, you're welcome to, if you have any feedback, you're welcome to join at any time if you're wanting to do that. But really what I want just to do is kind of open up. I think that my exploration in this material has been, if I broke down my life into these focus areas, it puts a finer point on what success means. And so what does it mean for your relationships? What does it mean for your career? Taking one step closer to what you define as success. Because maybe you have a banner. One time I had a banner of what I thought success was. Success is this end goal. Here's the goalposts. And as I got down to my day-to-day life and I looked at where I was stepping, it wasn't in that direction. And it could be multiple things. I could have been, I was not connected to the goal, which happened to be my case, or I just had let myself get so far off track that I needed to make a course correction. And so this is when you get to this point and you find you have an idea, a compass bearing of what success looks like in these different domains, you then can start to consider what a plan looks like to improve these things. And maybe you're not clear on what your relationships or your career, the next move in your career looks like, or your emotional life. You might think, there's a time where I thought my emotional life, I've not considered this concept before. What would success be in my emotional domain of my life? And that's good. We want to think about new things. It's going to open up new pathways in the brain, and it's going to allow you to grow, which can be uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, I think we're meant to grow towards these things. And really success is something that should cause growth, give you hope for the future, and cause you to develop into the person and actually embody the values and the virtues that you see as powerful and worthwhile. And you're actually, by holding those values to such a revered degree, you will actually create those in the world. And that's really what it's all about. It gets down to this. So if you missed the beginning of the session here, I will be posting these as time goes on, the study sessions. You can access the course at ryanwantslifecoaching.com/personal success. And the course is absolutely free. And next Thursday at 6 p.m., we will be discussing lesson 3, which gets into planning and goal setting. Now, you want to look at it from kind of the top down, bottom up, because things kind of work together like that in life. And so we will discuss that then. So if you're watching this live now or you're watching later, I thank you for joining and for interest, and really your interest in personal growth and development. I'm here to empower individuals like yourself. So please reach out to me if you need anything in the meantime. Thank you very much. And I hope you have a good afternoon, evening, or night.